Dividend normal balance is, for example, we have paid dividend of 5,000. So dividend debit balance is 5,000. So we want to make it balance. So on the credit side, we make it balance so that the ledger account is balanced, and then we can close it down, right? Entry would be retained earning dividend, right? Again, for the first one, which is revenue, so revenue normal balance is credit. In order to make it balance, we must write down 12,000 on the debit side. Then entry would be revenue to retained earnings. 12,000, 12,000, right? So this is the concept of closing the accounts. Right, Ella? You got the idea now? So rather just writing down revenue to retain earning, they just mention it in row wise, that's it. So let's do some example, then you will be understanding that. So this is the trial balance. So we have given all the adjustments here. So whenever you are making financial statements, always choose the adjusted side of the balance sheet, because the adjusted side of the balance sheet already included all those adjustments of the prepaid, unearned, accrued expenses, and all those stuff, right? So let's just talk about this panel here. So you see, closing the books, when you are closing the books, so you have the service revenue, which is 7,500. So you see here on the trial balance, the service revenue is 7,500. Is this a balance sheet item? No, this is income statement item. So it needs to be closed. When close it, the entry would be revenue to retained earning. Similarly, all the expenses. So you write down combined entry, retained earning to all the expenses here. And at the end, the dividend, retained earning to dividend. Right? Like I told you here, it must be balanced. So you see, retained earning is 1,800. So rest of the thing, you need to close it down. 7,500 coming from revenue. This 4,600 coming from dividend, expenses, and this dividend. And you see the ending balance is now 18,500. So this is how we close revenue, expense, and dividend accounts. Now, how many accounts we have for adjustments? Prepaid, accrued liabilities, accrued revenue, unearned revenue, and depreciation. For closing, we have three entries. Number one, revenue, all kind of revenue, whether this is sales revenue, interest revenue, rent revenue, all the revenues. If the company is operating with two different products, rental services and the physical products, sales plus all the service revenue as well, we will close it down. All the revenue, we will close it to retained earning. All the expenses, we close it to retained earning, and all the dividends, we close it to retained earnings. Right? And you see here, when you post it down, so you see there is no carry forward balance. Balance is equal. Balance is equal. Balance is equal. Balance is equal. It means all these accounts are closed. Right? Close against what? Against the retained earnings. right? Ella, you look confused. Am I right?
It's okay. Yeah. It's a little bit confusing, but I understand.
Okay. So you please revisit the lecture here, and if you still don't understand that, please do write me. I would be explaining it to you. Okay. Okay. Now I think it's time for you to have a breakout room activity. And all you need to do, you need to prepare the closing entries, right? So maybe it will further clarify your concept. So I'm making the breakout room activity. Meanwhile, please take a picture. So remember, closing entries are for revenue, expenses, and dividend, nothing else. I'm making 2 breakout rooms. Please accept it. And please turn on your video and microphone in breakout room. For those who are watching, I'm just pausing the video right now. We will resume after the breakout room activity. Okay, class, welcome back after the breakout room activity. Okay, let's compare your solution with our solution. So here we go. So we are making closing entries. So first we need to close down the revenue. Let's do that. So we are standing on 31st of December, of course, because at the end of the accounting period or financial period, we are going to close down our books. So which kind of books we need to close? Number 1, revenue. Number 2, expenses. Number 3, dividend, right? So first we need to close down the revenue. So look at that, where we have the revenue accounts. Cost of goods, services sold, no, these are not the revenue. The accumulated depreciation, these are not the revenue. Let me change the color so that it can easily point it out. So this is cost of goods services, sorry. And yeah, so these are expenses. Accumulated depreciation, this is balance sheet item. I write it down B here. Selling, general and administrative expenses, this is expenses. This is income statement item. Retained earning, balance sheet item. Service revenue, yes, this is income statement. Depreciation expense, expense item, income statement item. Interest revenue, yes, income statement item. Dividend, this is the third book that we need to close. Expense, internet expense, we have the accounts payable, this is balance sheet item. Right, so now we have 2 revenue accounts, right? We need to close it down. So we know that the natural balance for revenue is credit. Now we need to make it debit. So entry would be service revenue, interest revenue to retained earnings. Please compare your answer, right? So that doesn't mean that just we need to close down one revenue, all the revenue accounts, right? All the revenue accounts. Service revenue and interest revenue, we close it down. Retained earnings, 64,400, right? And now we need to close down the expense. So which expenses we have? We have cost of goods sold, we have general, selling, and administrative expenses, depreciation expense, not the accumulated depreciation. Remember that one. Accumulated depreciation will go to balance sheet. Depreciation expense will go to income statement. And then we have income expenses. So what is the entries? Because natural balance for expenses are debit, so we make it credit against the retained earnings. So entry would be retained earning to all the expenses here, right? Retained earning to all the expenses here. Please compare your answer here, right? The last one is closed on the dividend. Any other dividends that we paid except this dividend? No. Now let's close it down. Retained earning to dividend 600. Right? So this is we close down the books of account. So these are the entries that we close it down. Now, what are the total revenues and incomes and income? So total revenue minus all the income, total revenue we have. Here we go, 64,600 and all the expenses, right? Income would be 13,800. So if we closed on all the entries into, if we post it into retained earning, it would be like this one, right? So we have expenses, we have the retained earning balance here, we have revenues, we have dividend here. So this is the closing balance of